Do 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 do. I just like remember our intro music being like do 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 do. What's going on, Poppers? Welcome back to Poppin Predictions, where we believe movies aren't over at the end, but are meant to be continued. You're here with Andy and Marquise, where we ponder what happens in a story once the credits begin to roll. On today's episode, we will be reviewing the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. This A24 produced film follows an aging Chinese immigrant who is swept in an adventure where she alone can save the world by exploring other universes connecting with the lives she could have led. The movie is rated R for some violence, sexual material, and language. And as always, spoilers are ahead. Marquise, we are back for episode 2 of season 2. Was it like 6 months later?
Yeah,
It's fine. It's fine. Why don't you go
it's
ahead?
Consistency. Doesn't matter.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Why don't you go ahead and tell our wonderful poppers a little bit more about what this movie's about?
Yeah. So, everybody, there is a reason why we came back. Okay, like this, it wasn't just randomly. It was like, hey, let's just go do another Poppin Predictions episode. We got life going on. We're busy. It is what it is. But a movie has come out recently that not only have we gotten multiple requests to actually review, even though we haven't released the episode in months, but also just everyone in the world has been telling me this is the best movie ever, or
everyone everywhere?
just the greatest. Everyone everywhere.
Everyone everywhere all at once is telling us to review this one.
This movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I saw the trailer for it maybe a few months ago when I was seeing the movie X, which is another A24 film. And I was like, okay, that looks like it might be interesting. I don't know where they're going to go with that, but whatever, right? The movie came out and I can't remember the last time a movie came out where every person unanimously told me it was amazing. Yeah. From friends I have that are movie buffs, to friends I have that just kind of like movies, people I know in my life who like vastly different types of movies. It did not matter. Yeah. Every single person I had spoken with told me to watch this movie and that it is just utterly amazing. People I never would have expected to tell me that. And so, I don't know. I felt like they built a hype up like a lot. And so I was like, okay,
it's always dangerous when you got that many people.
Dangerous. Incredibly dangerous. I know I did it to you. I was scared when I was doing it to you with, I think, no, was it Midsommar or maybe it was another movie?
I don't think it was Midsommar. I think it was another one, but
there was another movie.
Whatever movie it was, I think
was it First Reformed? It might have been First Reformed.
I think it probably was.
Yeah,
First Reformed, you love that,
but you still ended up liking it a lot, though, didn't you?
Yeah.
So it feels good when they hype a movie up and it lives up to the expectations. Let me say, this one did it for me. This one 100% lived up to the expectations. So I'm just gonna give you all a quick, cool little background, or not background, but just kind of idea of this film. It follows just a Chinese immigrant family, mainly the mother, who is they work in a laundromat, where they also like live in the same building, and just like trying to like pay bills, make ends meet, and they're having this huge kind of like our IRS tax issue, like like they gotta pay taxes, stuff didn't work out, so they're trying to fix this issue. And all of a sudden, in the middle of like this start of the movie that kind of starts off with this like general idea, all of a sudden not characters, just like multiple versions of themselves, characters already in the movie, are coming from different multiverses. And it's just like, wait, I thought this movie was about this family and this laundromat, and now there's like some evil figure trying to defeat all the different versions of like some people. Like it's just the movie kind of goes on a really, really wild what's the storyline, but it ties itself back in really well, and we'll get to different points of that in a bit. But yeah, overall, I would say this movie was like really great. In my opinion, it had like a really tight story, even though like they're introducing like an idea of a multiverse, and they
Right.
like usually with most multiverse movies, I feel like they go to different multiverses. I don't really that didn't really happen in this movie.
Yeah, I really that's I'm glad we're going straight to this.
Yeah.
I feel like first off, something that I have to give special kudos to, the Daniels have redeemed themselves for me. For those who don't know, I don't remember their last names, but they go by the Daniels. They're the directors of the movie.
Dan Kwan and Daniel Scheinert.
Yeah, something like that.
Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, something like that.
Yeah, they made Swiss Army Man, which if you haven't listened to our Swiss Army Man episode, go ahead, give it a listen to. But they made Swiss Army Man, and spoiler alert to that episode, I hated it. I hated that movie. Haven't seen it since. It's not a good movie to me. Other people like it, but I'm not one of them. But this movie totally redeemed, at least in my opinion. I can go ahead and trust their work after seeing this movie. I think that they had a really creative approach to the multiverse, because like you were saying, usually when TV shows or movies have like the multiverse, it's like them going to the other universes. Where this one, the way that they use it is they outline the different paths that one person can take to have them go towards a different trajectory, or in like what sort of universe that they could be in, and then they find a person that fits that mold and brings it back. So I think, to give an example, there was one of the ones that one of the very first ones that the mom, her name's Evelyn.
Yeah.
Her name's Evelyn. She had to confess her love to the IRS lady. And like she had to genuinely mean it. And you can like see that she's like, I love you, like I'm trying, like I love you, but it's like nothing coming off as genuine. And then she's able to genuinely like say I love you to the IRS lady, and then a version of Evelyn in a different reality comes to kind of like help her through the experience that she's in. And so you see different bits and pieces of that throughout the episode, throughout the movie, sorry. Which I think is just, again, a really creative take.
Like in this other reality, Evelyn is actually in love with the IRS lady. And so she pulls her from this reality so that she can authentically say, I love you. The first example we actually see of it is in the beginning of the movie, where Evelyn needs to like fight. She needs to fight, but she doesn't know how to fight. And so she's able to like transport in some weird way her mind to a different universe where there is a version of her that grew up learning how to fight. And so then she is able to kind of like extract their powers, almost like a Kirby or whatever.
Yes.
She's able to like extract their powers and like all of a sudden start fighting. And I mean, they take this concept and they do it with almost everything in the movie. So like whatever a character needs the ability to learn how to do, I guess Evelyn's special for some reason in the multiverse. And so she has the ability to like go to like far reaching distances in order to like find a version of herself that could combat whatever situation is going on.
Well, wasn't it that she there was an alpha universe?
Oh, where she created that, right?
Where she created it.
Yeah.
And so that's like there was and I think it was the original universe that everything is in. She's like a scientist and she's the one that created everything.
The Alphaverse or whatever.
Yeah, the Alphaverse. And so I think that what was unique about, I think that's also unique in this story is that like, you know, we often think of ourselves as the main character. As it makes me think of that Rick and Morty episode where they have like the imposter families, and Rick just ends up
just killing all the
going and killing that's what's got me thinking.
Every version of themselves.
But yeah, it's really cool that we are watching it from like, I guess, one of the copies' perspectives, and not really like getting attached one way or the. I guess we're more so getting attached to the copy instead of like the alpha person, because we really don't. We really don't ever see the alpha person.
I don't think you ever see alpha.
I think we see a picture. I think when they first introduce it, I think there's a picture of her. But I think that's about it. So I think that that's a really cool take. What did you think the first time you saw this movie? What did you think when you saw Ki Huai Kwan beat up people with a fanny pack?
Okay, so all right, people. So okay, I love this movie so much. This movie is very much like multi-genre too. It's kind of family comedy, it's drama, it's action a little bit. And the first action sequence we get in this movie is the husband, who plays like a very kind of like goofy kind of like dude or whatever. His alpha version of himself, Alpha Wayne, his name is Wayman. So the alpha version is called Alpha Wayman. So the
Raymond.
Wayman.
Wayman.
With a W.
Wayman with a W.
Alpha Wayman comes and like all of a sudden like knows how to fight. Yes. And he takes off his fanny pack and puts in work. Like,
I know.
It's like a 5-minute scene, and it's also shot beautifully. Like
it's like one of those moments where it's just like, this thing isn't normally a weapon, and then this guy is just making it. It's like, what? Whenever you watch like a CIA movie, and this guy's a total like just like awesome, like a professional killer. He can use like a person used like a stapler to kill people. Like this is what Wayman is doing with a fanny pack.
He is whooping people, and at one point,
wrecking people.
At one point, he takes a handful of rocks and puts them in the fanny pack, like after already beating them up, and then like gets ready for round 2, and it's just doing straight damage, and it's really fun to watch. And like there's a ton of action scenes, but that one I would actually say is probably the most memorable.
I think that's the one. That's the one that kind of like, I mean, it's the first one. It's like like you said, it's the first action sequence, and I think they did a really good job of showing you this is what this movie is. Like this is like Wayman went to a universe where he knew Taekwondo, he knew how to fight, and he brought it to the universe that he is in now. And he is using it to beat up his adversaries. And so it does a really good job of showing you like what it's all about in a very comedic way.
And I would say so there's a way that you can transport your mind to like a different universe and like take that person's ability, right? And they get very creative. Like this movie is the epitome of creativity, in my opinion, right? And so they take the concept of like, because everyone needs like a transporter somehow. Like in Back to the Future, they needed the DeLorean, and Rick and Morty, he needs the, not ray gun, but whatever it's called.
Right.
Like they always need a different thing to transport, right? And so in this movie, it's like 2 earbuds that like have to go green before you could transport your mental somewhere else and then come back, right? And in order to like get it to go green, you have to do something strange.
Right.
Like that is literally like
you
the
have
definition.
to do something that like sends you down that track, you know, like that sends you down.
Yeah, you have to do something that you wouldn't normally do. I think it's the description that they gave is like something that's so awkward and weird you would never do it, and then it allows you to like jump in a different part. And the first time we see it is when well technically like she's like Evelyn's like reading instructions that like switch your shoes to the wrong feet and then do this, and then she's able to transport. But before Wayman starts beating people with a fanny pack, we see him like eat lipstick and to chew it. He's just like eating and chewing lipstick. So before Alpha Wayman starts like beating these people up with a fanny pack, he shoots the thing or whatever.
Yeah.
There's also another fight scene that's incredibly memorable in this movie that starts off with an incredibly awkward, I would say, version of like mind jumping, we'll call it. So remember, the only premise to do this is you gotta do something weird that you wouldn't normally do. So the whole movie basically takes place in this IRS office. And in the early scene, you see the main IRS lady, she has a bunch of placard awards or whatever. And I don't know how to most say it in the most clean way, but they look like certain type of insertions. I don't know how to really say it. I'll just say it like a it's a butt plug. I'm gonna keep it real.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's really the only way.
Sorry,
you know
it's just
we're ripping the Band-Aid off. That's
like
welcome back to Poppin Predictions. Where we say butt plugs now.
Yeah, we say butt plugs. We're dirty now.
We're the dirtiest clean podcast.
But they look basically like butt plugs, right? And so, and like these like as Evelyn's fighting these other characters who have lost their power, like she like all of a sudden like one of them gets the idea, like they see this thing and they immediately pull their pants down and try to like jump up and put their butt on the thing, and it doesn't work. And then finally a security guard from early in the movie does just like power like Superman jump and lands his butt onto the plug, immediately goes green and transports, and then all of a sudden could fight. Like this movie is so weird and so creative with like its like weirdness that like it's just amazing to me to like see.
I mean,
where it's
classic,
going.
It's like a classic A24 film almost. I mean, I feel like A24 films are known for its creativity, for its out of the box sort of story and plot lines. Mm-hmm. And so this one again was no disappointment and was kind of right there.
Personally, I don't know how you feel. I don't know how much A24 you've seen in the last like 5-6 years, whatever. Personally, I felt like ever since Hereditary and Midsommar, especially Hereditary, that really like made a staple for A24. I felt like every movie hasn't followed the same script, but the same like feeling, the same really dark and like I don't know, just kind of like weird, trippy.
Yeah,
feeling.
even with this movie, like it was a relatively like happy movie.
Yeah, this movie just
and it still has that. Yeah, it still has that feeling to it.
Yeah, like it's dark, it's nihilistic, but it's a comedy. It's like funny and like it's just like it's a feel good. Like when's the last A24 feel good movie you watched? like it's a feel good film. Like it's just it finally broke the mold that they made. Like they made a new mold, and then they finally got one of their own movies to kind of like break that mold. Which I was actually talking to a friend earlier this year. We were both saying that was really needed because the last few A24 films I watched, I'm not gonna talk crap about them now, men, but some of the last A24 films I watched, in my opinion, just kind of felt so stale and like they were just kind of trying to repeat the success they had with like Hereditary and movies like The Witch, and they just weren't. It kind of felt like they weren't doing it well for the last year or two. But to me, this is exactly the fresh push they need. Like
I know it was just another banger. They had to
go banger. All right. So I got a question for you.
What's up?
So in this movie, there is in the beginning of this movie, there's a topic that's brought up, but they do and don't make a huge deal about it. And that's the sexuality of the daughter. Right. And so like in this movie, in the very beginning, you think this might be a huge deal because like it's actually kind of brought up a good amount of times. It's like the first conflict you see in the film. It's like the daughter talking to her mom, and I guess it's supposed to be a dinner for the grandpa. And she's like, "Can we invite my girlfriend Becky?" Who is her name's not ironically Becky. Like it's actually a white girl named Becky. So she just have to be clear. At first I wasn't sure if like the parents were making a joke, but no, her name's actually Becky. And so they like she's trying to invite her over for dinner and like wants to introduce her as her girlfriend to the grandpa, but like the mom isn't so sure about it, blah blah blah. So they start the movie like that, but then they kind of don't really talk about it for a while,
right?
And then randomly bring it up here and there. Like, I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
it's like they mention it. They mention it like when Joy is revealed to be like
Yeah,
the big bad, and like Evelyn's like makes a comment, and Joy's like, "You're still hung up on the gay thing," or something.
yeah.
Like she
That
makes like
I was
some
gonna
sort of
ask about that
comment
scene. Yeah.
about that.
How do you feel like the movie, like the movie obviously touches on it, but like how do you feel like it does in touching on it or whatever?
Yeah, so I think that it's interesting because um I think that this movie actually talks about it more than you think, more than you
Mhm,
give it credit to, and it's not in like a direct way,
mhm,
but I think that the movie actually does talk about this, and it gets you kind of thinking: is Joy nihilistic, or is she actually depressed? Like, is
mhm,
that her character? And I would question, and I would pose this to our listeners when you watch the movie, like ask that question, like have that question in mind when you watch this movie again, like is Joy nihilistic or is she depressed? Because
mhm,
I think that her character in like a lot of the universes isn't accepted for who she is, and
mhm,
so I think that that's kind of why she could come off as nihilistic, because nothing matters,
mhm.
because she sees every universe, and every universe, like because she knows that all that, like nothing is surprises her. So it poses that question. um I think that this movie is very interesting when you think about it from like the sexuality and like the fresh and nihilistic standpoint, because you have the everything bagel, which is supposed to, I think it's supposed to symbolize destruction, if I
Like
remember
a black
correctly,
hole. It's supposed to be like a
like a
black hole
black
that
hole.
just destroys
um
everything inside it.
and then it has googly eyes, which is like life, like it's supposed to symbolize joy, and so it's supposed to symbolize joy and give life. And so I think that this movie does a great job of like balancing those concepts.
They're supposed to
um
be yin and yang, apparently. The
that's what
googly
I
eyes
was
and
thinking
the
too.
donut hole. That's what people have been saying.
That's what I've been thinking too. I just, thanks for bringing it up. It's like you're in my head. It's like you're in my head when I am thinking about it. But
I'm always in your
uh,
head.
ah! No, but yeah, no, I think that I really liked that system, and I feel like everything started to come together, ironically, when there was no dialogue, when they were in the Rock
One
universe.
of the greatest scenes I've seen in I don't know how long.
Yes, they're just like in this universe, and there's no life whatsoever. It's just empty fields, and they just appear as two rocks,
Mhm.
just like two rocks just talking and having the quietness and stuff like that. And I think that it's like a nice break from the movie, because the movie itself is pretty fast paced,
Oh, you're
or like
jumping back and
there's,
forth, loud sounds,
yeah,
big boom, bam, in, out.
and then you get here and it's just like peaceful, quiet, like zen, like literally just time where you can think and be still. And so it's like a nice contrast, but I think that that's kind of where it kind of builds up right there.
I thought that rock conversation, like, I thought it was so weird that they would play the most important conversation, arguably, in the movie, but have it not be said. So
Right,
as
some
they
things are just better left unsaid.
and as we mentioned before in this movie, they never really travel to other universes. You only see the other universes because she's like grabbing her powers from them.
Right,
But there is one scene where her and Joy actually do kind of like, I mean, it's not like they're really traveling, spending time. It's like a quick scene that's
yeah,
like just showing different images of them going through different universes. And they end up in this one universe where there's just two rocks. Because in this universe, life never formed
yeah,
or no formed on Earth or whatever. And so they're just two rocks and they're talking to each other, but instead of actually talking, all you see is like a text box on the screen
yes,
above each rock. One's Joy and then one's the mom Evelyn. And during this time, it's like a 5-minute scene where you just see text boxes going back and forth, and they're having a conversation. These two rocks are having a conversation, and it's like one of the deepest parts of the movie. So in this universe, they're having this really important conversation and like just getting like really like intimate and deep. And at one point, Jobu, who's the evil version of Joy, says every new discovery is just a reminder we're all small and stupid, and because this version of Jobu has like she's the only person so far I think in this whole film who's been to every universe, and or like supposedly has gone and like trying to defeat other versions of Evelyn or whatever, which also is a weird thing in the movie. So the movie leads you to believe, which is actually the only turnoff I had in the movie, was that 20 minutes or so in, it leads you to believe that at first you start with this family is trying to make ends meet in this laundromat, and then all of a sudden a different version of her husband comes from a different universe and says, hey, there's a big evil out there that you have to help us defeat because you're the only one that can defeat it. I was like, really? We're doing that? Like, come on, y'all. Like, I'm not gonna lie. As soon as that happened, I was like, bro, anything said about this movie, I'm off it already.
Dang, you almost fell off the train.
I almost on that early on, because I was just like, please, like, I hate that type of like idea or plot. And like, you have to like really, really do it right. And for me, it's just like random. Oh, there's a big evil in the universe. You gotta help us destroy it. I was like, man, they're about to waste an entire movie. But that is not what happens in this movie. They kind of start you with that idea, and then you find out, oh, the big evil in this universe is a different version of her daughter. Oh, the big evil in this universe is a different version of her daughter who wants to kill this specific version of her. And then you find out at the end of the movie, oh, and I'm going to actually read the actual quote from the movie, where Jobu says to Evelyn, I wasn't looking for you so I could kill you. I was looking for someone who could see what I see, feel what I feel. Every version of Joy that she in this universe or whatever, these universes are like depressed or whatever, or like, just experiences all this pain. And she said, and then I think Alpha Wayman tells Evelyn that Jobu learned how to jump and do all this from her mother. And so everything she got from her mother. So it makes sense that in this nihilistic mindset where nothing matters and everything is pointless, and she just kind of feels sad or depressed or pain or whatever, and she just wants somebody who can understand her, which is, I'm just going to be honest, like I've gone through depression and things like that, and you definitely just want to feel heard. You definitely just want to feel like someone is there for you, someone cares, like
someone understands.
And so for me, like I just thought that was like, oh, incredibly, like, oh wow, like that's super cool. I did not expect that like the big like evil figure didn't want to kill her. It was actually just in pain and wanted somebody to be there with them and for them. And yeah, I just thought that was like incredibly creative. And I was like, man, they just, every time they just kept getting more and more creative with how they were doing things in this movie, I felt.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm glad that they kind of went down that route, because I'm not gonna lie to you, when they were talking about how they have a big bad, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be the daughter. Like, yeah. I knew that it was gonna be her. So I'm glad that they like went with that and they made it work.
Also, fun fact that we didn't mention, so I will try to pronounce it. The husband, the actual actor, his name is Ki Hoi Kwan, I believe. Yeah. Fun fact, he's the kid from Indiana Jones
and the Goonies.
I've never watched Indiana Jones. It's not my type of thing, so I didn't recognize that. But when someone said the Goonies, I was like, oh snap! Like that actually is him. Like that sounds like him. So
yeah, I remember I was watching the movie and I was thinking to myself, I was like, this guy looks familiar. and then I remember, I think I remember hearing somewhere that that it was going to be him, that it was him. So I was excited to see that he made his appearance back, because he took a break from acting. He hasn't done movies like since then, at least not in an acting role, because he felt that there wasn't enough like Asian representation or Asian roles, which I think that this movie does a fantastic job of having like a majority Asian cast. So you get to see like it's more diverse than like your standard multiverse movie. I feel.
Was it you who told me? It was either you or somebody told me that, yeah, he kind of stopped acting because, like, I don't know, like he just didn't really think there was like roles like that out there for Asians or Asian men. But then he saw Crazy Rich Asians and I was like, oh, okay. And so then he got back into film and this was his first film back. And I was like, man, that's insane that this is your first one, you know, and this is a banger of the film. But yeah, like so I like with it being a majority Asian cast, like I never saw Crazy Rich Asians, so I don't really know how good or bad that movie was, whatever. With this movie, one of the dopest things I thought was actually almost as soon as the movie starts. So as soon as the movie starts, they're speaking in like Cantonese or whatever, or Mandarin Chinese, some type of Chinese. They're speaking in, but as they're speaking, like they're going back and forth between English and Chinese. Like at first it's just Evelyn and her husband, Evelyn and Wayman, and they're speaking it's mainly in Chinese, but every few phrases she'll just say something in English or whatever. And like it's weird. Like I actually have not seen a movie do that, even though for me and like me growing up as a kid with a lot of, you know, Asian like friends, that was very real in the household where like it's seamless, like really seamless, like how they move between like their like native language and then English. Like it's just like they'll be speaking and there's just some phrases that might sound better or just be more natural to them in English versus, you know, whatever the native language is. And I just don't remember ever seeing a movie do that. Like usually the households like speak one or another language. Right. Whereas like in this movie, and they don't even make a big deal about it. They don't even talk about it, but it's just like you just see the family anytime they're interacting together. It's between Chinese and English. And whenever the mom or her dad are talking to Joy barely speaks Chinese. And so they're usually talking in English.
I don't know if she speak Chinese? I don't know if she can even
speak barely Chinese. Speaks it, but she can understand it. But because when the mom butts in, she's trying to describe she's just trying to describe her girlfriend, and the mom's like, oh, very good friend, and whatnot. Yes. So she does, but it's bad. Even Grandpa says, like, your Chinese gets worse every time I see you. So, so I thought that was, I don't know. They touched on everything.
I think it's really cool. I think that, I think that goes back to the Daniels, what his childhood growing up. That actually was another fun fact for the fight scene with the fanny pack. One of the reasons why he picked the fanny pack to do it is because like he was reflecting on like his childhood and like Chinese American immigrant stereotypes. And so like one of the stereotypes that, you know, that Asian dads have a lot is that they go out with fanny packs. Mm-hmm. And so like that was kind of like a nod to that tradition. Mm-hmm. And that thing of like of him using a fanny pack as like a weapon and as a tool and stuff like that. So it was like kind of like a nod to that sort of stereotype.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I know. So we said a lot about this movie. But even having said a lot, like there's so much in this movie.
Yeah, we are not touching a whole lot.
There's so much we're not touching on because it's just there's a lot. And when I say that, like this movie hits on every level, I mean that so sincerely. And I like my favorite movie is Midsommar. Like if I'm being honest,
right? That's a shocker here.
Go back and listen to our Hereditary Midsommar episode.
Listen to any of our podcasts. We make at least one Midsommar reference an episode. So
at least. So like people who know me know like my favorite film, or at least one of my favorite films, is Midsommar. Like it's either number one or top three. It's up there. It's definitely my favorite horror. But anywho, so Midsommar is a great film. But at no point would I say that like it hits on like everything in every level. I wouldn't say like it's a perfect 10 for 10 or even 9.5 out of 10. Like I wouldn't recommend. It's not even a movie I would recommend for like everybody. Yeah, I think just for me, like, and for me, the things I care about, what I want in this film, like it works. This is a movie I would quite literally recommend to almost anybody.
Yeah, because we were talking earlier, it crosses genres.
It
Like while we were
crosses,
watching
yeah.
the movies, like while we're watching the movie, it's like it has that like classic kung fu style movie feel at certain points. It has like that action adventure. It has that deep philosophical thing. It really crosses
comedy,
different genres,
like the jokes
comedy.
all the time.
Exactly.
And some of the kung fu scenes are kind of, if you ever seen that movie Kung Pao, which I hated. I hated that movie as a child. They're like the nunchucks are like rodents and whatnot. Like I hated that movie.
Yeah.
But even this movie does stuff like that, like to that extreme of like weirdness. Like at one point, the mom Evelyn is trying to describe like somebody being in her head controlling her, like the movie Ratatouille. But instead of saying Ratatouille, she keeps saying like raccoon or raccoony or whatever. Raccoony. She keeps saying like that. And then so like her family starts laughing at her, right? They literally build on that joke. And later on in the movie, there's like a chef and under his hat is a raccoon, like helping the chef. And then like the raccoon just like sits away and like it's the most ridiculous thing. But it's so funny and like creative. And yeah, like yeah, this movie just hits on every level. And I think this could be anybody's favorite movie. Like no matter what type of movie you like, if you're a movie lover or not, like I don't think I've ever seen a movie that has ticked off almost every box.
Yeah.
Unless you're looking for like scary horror, which obviously this is going to be that. But anything else, like as long as you're open to anything else, like to me, this, I'm going to give it title or like kind of honor in my opinion of like, I don't want to say like best overall movie, like that's the stretch, but like I don't know, maybe
I don't know,
of like
it could be best
decade.
movie of the year.
I'll give it that. I would say year.
I would say year. I would say year. I think decade goes a little too far, but I think it would be a contender for the decade. I think it could be in the top 100. I don't think it's the top movie of the decade. There's so many great movies. But anyway.
Before we end this, I wanted to ask you, because you, even though you liked the movie, it wasn't like mind-blowing to you. So I kind of want to ask you, how was your like experience in terms of the hype?
I think for me, I hadn't heard of this movie before you brought it up. And I think that you do a good job in general of like not overhyping movie. So I think that I didn't know too much about it going into it. It was just everything everywhere all at once. And so for me, I think it was very good. I think part of the problem when we watched it the first time, and this is a behind the scenes sort of scoop, is that when we first started watching this movie, as if you've been following along with us, you know that we started this podcast when we were on the same time zone, and since then I am now on the East Coast and Marquise is now on the West Coast. So we started watching this movie at like 9:00 Marquise's time, which is midnight my time, and so it was the first half of the movie. It was hard for me to kind of get into it because I was tired, but it was pretty good. And in the second half of the movie, we took a break and came back and watched it the second half later. And I remember watching the second half and really like enjoying the second half.
See, I like the first part more, so I think you should watch the first part again if you get a chance to. Personally,
yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think it is a very good movie, and I think that y'all should go see it. That being said, let's kind of go to the predictions part. So Marquise, why don't you go ahead and tell us how this movie ends, and do you have any sort of like, I mean, it's a multiverse. Like I feel like you could do anything.
All right. So here's where I'm gonna go with this, right? So at the end of the movie, it kind of ends with this theme of be kind, right? That's like the final theme of the movie is you don't know what's going on in the war in the universe. No one knows what they're doing. Everyone's just trying to survive and get by. Like, just be kind to people, right? Which I mean, I very much live my life kind of by that too. So for me, like, I really like that, right? And the movie ends with them not getting their businesses taken by the IRS or anything like that, because they end up just finally being kind to the IRS lady. And she's, all alone herself and dealing with things. And Yeah, like if I don't remember like the last scene of the movie, but yeah, I remember basically just ending with Evelyn showing love to everybody, and
I think she
everybody just kind of being
like
nice and caring.
she started like she accepted she it shows that she accepted Joy, and I think that
Yeah,
she didn't later introduce Becky as her
as
girlfriend.
as a girlfriend and everything like that. And so it was kind of dealt with acceptance, right? So here's the thing. Can they still time travel, or not time travel, but travel to different mind jump to different universes? I'm going to say yes.
Of course.
I think
Of
they can
course.
still mind jump to different universes.
Of course.
So what I imagine being happening is that I see them, unfortunately, probably abusing this power to a very great degree. Because I'm not saying it's not like necessarily superpowers, but you do have advantage over everybody else if you
Right.
could just like almost like the Matrix, where they're able to like learn kung fu just by downloading it into their brain or something like that. Like this is just another version of that. And so they'll kind of how they use this to kind of beat their whole IRS tax system. Like I could see them really. I don't think they're gonna go evil necessarily, but I always see the world as like I can't remember the quote, but pretty much like if you have great power, you're gonna abuse it, you know. And I think that it would end up being abused. So if there was a sequel and one that I wrote, it would definitely be even darker and it'd be a horror film.
I know. I think that it would jump with Evelyn being the big bad.
Yeah, I think she would be the big bad because like, and so look at it. There's also a scene in the film. The first time Evelyn sees any other universe version of herself, it's one where she didn't marry Wayman, where she instead did listen to her father. She became an incredibly successful actress and became really rich. And it's not that that's bad, but what's bad is like as soon as she's come back to, she looks at her husband and she says, "In another version, in another life, I was happier without you, like a lot happier."
Yeah.
And like she couldn't wait to tell him that, and I was like, "Dang, like that's cool." And so like she was very like bare on like letting him know that. And I was like, I don't know, that's a little sketch. And then obviously like she's incredibly cold to her daughter, in all these versions until the very end. So it just to me that it would depend on whether or not what she learned at the end of the movie kind of stuck with her. And I would say no. I would say that the whole like be nice thing or whatnot, for some people it works, but for some it only lasts so long before they kind of revert to a different version of themselves or whatever. And I think having gone through everything she has in her life, she kind of just seems really bitter about where she ended up at. And so I think Evelyn would end up using her jumping ability, and especially with how powerful she is with her jumping ability, to like kind of like heavily abuse where she is in life, either by living in different universes and another one, or by manipulating this one as much as she could. Like she wouldn't be like a Superman, or I don't know about Superman, but like a hero who like, oh, let's keep things equal, I'm not gonna like really use my power. Like no, she's 100% going to like abuse it. I don't know how. I haven't created that far in my script yet, but I see it being her being not evil, but it would be more nuanced than her being evil, but it would be her having abusing this ability and something going incredibly wrong and her not letting it go.
You want me to completely wreck the sequel?
Please.
Okay. So,
ruin me.
I think that what's gonna happen is I think it's gonna explore duality. I think it's gonna explore like different. I wanted to explore different like philosophical and like different trains of thought, and so I would love for to see it battle between like good and evil. I think you were touching on like a good point about how Evelyn becomes like the big bad, and she goes down, and I think that it would be really cool if like it there's like this huge conflict between Evelyn being like the bad Evelyn and a good Evelyn, and then eventually they meet up and they destroy the space-time continuum and destroy all the multiverses. And then you realize that they were doing a play test from Black Mirror this entire time.
Oh
and it was actually from Alpha Universe, and it's the person debating if this technology should be utilized at all. And then they destroy it because it's too deep. That's how you destroy a movie, is by making is this actually happening, or did none of this actually happen?
Did we review playtest? We did a review playtest.
We did a review playtest, but I love that's one of my favorite Black Mirror episodes.
For those of you who don't know, it's a Black Mirror episode playtest, and we'll leave it at that. But yeah.
I love that. It's either my favorite or one of my favorite episodes.
That ending got me. Yeah,
I know. So that's what I'm saying. Like the alpha version of Evelyn wakes up and she's like, I don't think we should make this.
Yeah, it's all a big,
and it's all a big simulation project. Oh yeah, that's what I think.
Well, actually, that would be low key. That would be perfect, because if this movie's gonna touch on the multiverse, why would the second one not touch on simulation theory? But these are all simulations.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
See, I got
it's
you.
Perfect.
I got
We're a perfect duo. This is what happens.
Boom. This is what happens when you give us 6 months to do another episode.
We get better predictions and we come back with video.
Let's go. Let's go. Okay. All right.
Our popcorn bucket thing.
Let's do our.
I forgot what we call it.
The Poppin rating scale. So for those of you, I don't remember, man. It's been a while. Oh no, I hope we don't get flagged for that. Anyway. For those of you who this might be your first episode, welcome. For those of you who have been there with us, welcome back.
From the beginning. Day ones.
I know, right? So as a reminder for everyone, at Poppin Predictions, we use a popcorn rating scale, where we use different sizes of popcorn to kind of just rate whether it's good. So if we give a movie a small bucket, think of it as like 1 to 3 out of 10. It was not good, not worth the watch. Don't go, just don't do it. If it's a medium bucket, add it to your watch list, but it doesn't have to be that high up. Think of it as like a 4 to 6. If we give a movie a large, it means that we really liked it, 7 out of 9. Definitely go ahead, see this, put this towards the top. And if we give it a big bucket, stop what you're doing, go grab everything, go everywhere all at once and watch this movie all at the same time. And so think of that as like 10 out of 10, 10 plus. So Marquise, that being said, I think I kind of have a feeling. I know.
It's not even a question.
I was just like, I already know what you're gonna say.
I've only given like 2, if that.
I feel like you're very stingent on big buckets.
So for you newcomers, this is not normal for me.
This is
how high I'm rating this movie. I do not normally give big buckets.
I know. Okay, that's cool.
What about you?
I feel like I would give Everything Everywhere All at Once I'm kind of like a cusper. I feel like I give big buckets way too often. So I'm gonna probably lean towards giving it a large, with like extra butter, like all that good stuff. I think that it's really good. I appreciate the fact that it crosses genres and has it's not just, it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of movies, because it's like covers so many different genres. But I think for me, why I can't put it in the big bucket is because I feel like you have to be in the right mindset and the right mood to watch that movie. And if you're not in that right mindset, then like it could take
this demand a lot out of you.
But that being said, like I think it's still a really good movie. It's also one of those movies. I think one of the reasons why I'm not giving it a big bucket is because it's one of those movies that's like, if you don't pay attention, or if you glance down at your phone, like for something, you could miss a critical detail. And because of how fast paced this movie is, like if you miss that detail, you might be lost a little bit. But I think that overall, if you can give the movie the time and your attention, it's a very good movie, and that's why I'm comfortable giving it a large bucket.
Right there with you. So what did you think of our continuation of Everything Everywhere All at Once? Did you agree? Please follow us on Twitter at Poppin Predict and Instagram at poppinpredictions.pod to let us know your thoughts and how you think this movie should continue.
Yeah, and definitely let us know what movies you'd like to see us. Maybe we'll come back.
We have nothing on our list for season 2.
We got nothing on season 2, so just let us know what movies you're interested in seeing, and we're glad to be back. We're going to try to do a hybrid of both podcast and video podcast. So we should probably add our YouTube channel to our
it's gonna start YouTube Poppin Predictions.
YouTube Poppin Predictions is gonna be right there. But thank you all again for watching / listening. And until again, we'll see you later.
Peace out.